go through, get a college degree. They would pay for the college, the price,
Yeah,
and plus give a certain amount of money per month. We had the same deal up in Canada. Very simple, $60 a month you got, which doesn't sound like anything nowadays, but back in 1945, $60 went a long way.
Yeah.
And let us say everything else is paid for, your books, and obviously your total education. Well, they did the same thing here in the United States for veterans. So they had to expand, and they set up this secondary program and they're called state colleges. We had most of the bigger cities had one. Los Angeles had one. Long Beach had one.
Yeah.
And there, Dominguez Hills, which is close by, had one.
So is this just
Then
for
they also
California?
set up the two-year college program. That was a new program right after World War II.
El Camino,
El Camino was one of the first ones,
Harbor,
and
Harbor.
it just and most of those were all free, completely free.
Wow.
Really nice.
Yeah.
I wish it was so
Free in
know.
the sense that you didn't have to pay anything. The person, the student, obviously someone had to pay, because the teachers weren't going to come in and do it for nothing. So what I mean by that, the taxpayer had to pay.
Yeah.
They set up programs in which they went on your tax bill of all your property owners, householders. But it was very, very successful, and it produced millions of college-educated people in this country for the first time in history. Previous to World War II, only about 2 or 3% of the total population ever went beyond high school, ever went to college. They just couldn't afford it. They were all private. Most colleges were private. You had to pay through the nose, and you paid. And at a time when
you had to pay up front.
yeah, sure.
Yeah, like your dad.
So that was the marvelous system that we had going in this country during the last half of the 40s, in through the 50s and the 60s.
Wow.
Then the masterminds of industry fought back and said they're not getting enough profit in their businesses. They're going to lower the tax on business and on taxpayers, big taxpayers.
Yeah.
Because during World II and the years after, you know what the tax rate was for people? It was a graduated tax rate, but it went up to 92%. You paid 92% to the government once you went beyond a certain amount. Or, as I say, up to say $1 million, you may have paid 20%. But if you earned 10 million, it went up to 50%. Everything above 2 million, you paid 50. You shared it equally between you and the government. If you went up to maybe 20 million a year, well, then you went into that 92% deal. It was a graduated deal.
Wow.
And of course, obviously, the big industry and the people who are making the big bucks in that area, they went along with it for the first 20 years after World War II because they felt guilty. And they felt threatened. That was the worst thing. They saw what had happened in Germany, which was caused World War II. And they saw what happened in Japan.
Billy.
And so they felt threatened. We're talking about the big,
All the rich
terrible
people.
rally, the struggle between
You need your pickle?
the so-called common man and the person who was outstanding. Who should keep the rewards of any job? And previous to World War II, back in 1895, after the Civil War, majority of people would be lucky when they got a job at all. Well, there was a lot of work to do, things to build. The whole country was building back in the 1865 after
Farming?
the Civil War. And most of it was farming, yes, but it was, hard work,
Yeah.
and you got paid a little bit,
Labor.
$2 a day maybe $30 a month was what you got. You got enough to, and that was the deal. You had to accept it. There was no unions, like that. You couldn't fight back. Everyone was on your own.
We're getting a different job.
So,
There were.
as I say, that was the struggle. The owners in the business and stuff, I felt that human beings were around just to satisfy them. That was it. They needed help, but to run an organization, that they're willing to pay something, but just barely enough for that individual to survive.
Yeah.
That was it. And that's the way things were. And that's the way they think they should be now. That's why we've had this deal of allowing these illegal immigrants to come into this country for the last 50, 60 years. They started back up in the 60s. As I say, they felt guilty for about 20 years after World War II because of the threatening deal of people uprising against them. That's what was basically the reason for the war over in Europe with Hitler and everything like that. It was a social democratic system that he was setting up.
Yeah.
Big industry in
Communism.
this country and in England and a few other countries, but especially this country was felt terribly threatened by the rise of Hitler. The socialist thinking of more people getting better jobs and being paid decent wages to live.
So what did
So they were willing to put up with paying big income tax after World War II.
They still had plenty of money anyways.
Huh?
They still had plenty of money anyways.
Well, that's it. That's the whole goddamn thing, you see. That's what makes it so hard. And for the last 30 years, that's where we've been going, is back to those good old days of 1895, in which you work for the pittance. That's what they want.
Yeah. No unions.
And they're succeeding. That's in the deal of, as I say, I mentioned illegal aliens. That was one of their deals. They felt that if they could get rid of these poor, simple, ignorant, poorly paid people from Mexico
I was
to live
reading
here.
about the Hotel Del Coronado. They had Chinese immigrants built it.
Yeah.
They built it.
Well, we built the railroads out here in California with China.